This one's going to blow your mind, even in today's world. A white couple who enslaved Black adopted kids charged. 63-year-old Donald Ray Lantz and 62-year-old Jeanne Kay Whitefeather, a white couple from Sissonville, West Virginia, are back behind bars after a judge revoked their initial bond and raised it to $500,000 apiece. More than double the amount they faced last year when police arrested them on charges of locking their adopted Black children in a barn and forcing them to work as slaves. The couple was ordered to reappear in court on June 11th, more than 8 months after each posted a $200,000 bond following their arrest in October.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
We're right on the heels of Juneteenth. I don't know why they were out to reappear in the first place. You're going back to slave days. Some people maybe need to be locked up pending adjudication here. And I don't like to lock people up, but there's some people, they do. Apparently, those are the allegations. Police were conducting a wellness check at the Cheyanne Lane home, October 2nd, 2023, when they were shocked to discover 2 of the couple's 5 adopted children living in deplorable conditions. Children had been padlocked inside a ramshackle storage shed on the back of the property, which had no working lights or water. Do you understand why I don't think they deserve bond? The police showed up, and this is what they say they discovered. Used children were identified only as a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. Third child, identified as a 9-year-old girl, was confined to a loft inside the main house, away from the presence of the adults, isolated from her other siblings, police said, according to reports. Atlanta Black Star filling in more. At the initial court hearing in October, Lantz and Whitefeather pleaded not guilty, and Kahanwha County Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers set bond at $200,000 in each. Too low. That's too low. Couple made bail in February, were released to await trial. They remained free for several months, but in May, a grand jury indicted the couple on more than a dozen new charges, most serious being human trafficking of a minor child, which prompted the judge to revoke the lower bond, ordering the couple held in lieu of $1 million. Along with human trafficking and neglect with serious risk of bodily injuries or death, I don't find the bond to be sufficient, Akers told defense attorneys during the second bond hearing. Upgraded charges included alleged use of a minor child in forced labor, child neglect, creating a substantial risk of serious bodily injury or death, as well as false swearing, potential civil rights violations based on color, race, or ancestry, according to documents. Indictment suggests that 3 of the 5 adopted children were Black and that the human rights charges stem from those children being specifically targeted and forced to work because of their race. Police reported that a small RV toilet seat was placed in a barn for the children to use. At the second bond hearing, Whitefeather described the barn as a teenage clubhouse and claimed the children weren't locked in. However, neighbors disputed this, stating the children were forced to do farm labor and weren't allowed inside the residence, according to the indictment. I think we know who turned them in. Thank you. When rescued, 16-year-old girl told deputies they had been locked in the barn for about 12 hours, having last eaten at sunrise. According to Deputy H.K. Burdett, the children couldn't exit, requiring deputies to force entry inside the... Wow. I'm going to keep going. Inside, they encountered a disturbing smell and intense heat due to poor ventilation. According to court papers, both children appeared feral, dirty, reeking of body odor, while the boy had open sores on his bare feet. The children told investigators they were forced to sleep on a bare concrete floor, no mattress, no covers. You see the picture. That's evidence shown during the court hearing. Police remained at the house for 3 hours before Lantz arrived home with an 11-year-old boy When authorities checked the home for other potential victims, they found the 9-year-old holed up in a loft. Lantz was placed under arrest. About an hour later, Whitefeather returned home, guided deputies to another 6-year-old girl who was visiting with another couple from their church. I can't stand church, I say. Just a little detail. Church? During the latest bond hearing, Kahanwha County prosecutors argued that the couple's original cash bonds were likely obtained through trafficking profits, pointing to the fact that the couple produced the $400,000 bond despite a lack of obvious means to do so. Should be no bond in this circumstance. They're a threat. At the same proceeding, Lantz and Whitefeather claimed they possessed no income or assets, raising questions about the source of the funds for their bond. Kahanwha County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Christopher Kahanwha characterized the money posted for the couple's release as contraband directly or indirectly used or intended to use to violate human trafficking laws. Seize it. Seize it. Just seize it. Don't give it back. Early February, the couple sold an 80-acre ranch in Tonasket, Washington for $725,000. Days later, Whitefeather's brother, Marcus Hughes, posted 2 bonds for $200,000 to release the couple from the South Central Regional Jail. Kahanwha said they have since sold the Sissonville home, where they were arrested, for $295,000. The court seized all funds, thank you, as potential human trafficking profits, making them inaccessible to the defendants. Prosecutors argue that regardless of the fund sources, their use was meant to support human trafficking and forced labor. Akers also remarked that the case was unlike any other she had heard during her entire career as a judge. It alleges human trafficking, human rights violations, the use of forced labor, Akers said, according to reports. Human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race and they were used basically as slaves, what the indictment alleges. Both Lantz and Whitefeather pleaded not guilty to the charges in the indictment. However, they remain in jail as they have been unable to meet the higher bond amount. Next court appearance scheduled for September 9. You know we're going to follow this one. Was at this stage of the game, I guess we shouldn't be surprised at what is the alleged conduct of another being. It's hard for me to say human being in a case like this. Are you surprised at all the detail here, the sick conditions?
Well, when you see a level of abuse this sadistic and systematic, oftentimes these folks, they think, look, we got these kids basically from the state, off of adoption and things of that nature. These are people that nobody cares about. And so we can go about doing whatever the hell it is we want to do to these people because nobody's going to follow up. Nobody's going to think about the well-being of these young children. Of course, their race being a very big part of it, but also, as you know, like again, just generally the backgrounds of people who end up being put up for adoption is disenfranchised, right? Regardless of race. Then you add the factor of race in America, particularly for Black people, on top of this marginalized group of young people. And you can get something like this where people feel emboldened to do something this so obviously illegal and vile. I don't think you can separate those factors from the commission of these crimes. Like they wouldn't go out and try to do this to some beauty queen from a freaking nice little white family. They would say to themselves, hell no, they're gonna get us for this. But when it comes to, you know, a marginalized group of people and a historically marginalized race, on top of that, they're gonna think they have free shot. And I think the saddest part about this, and I would really like for the listeners to understand this, is that I myself grew up with foster kids. My mom, my entire life, damn near, was a foster parent. And when you hear about the stories of some of these kids and the backgrounds that they come from, it's harrowing stuff. And we do need more people to step up, man, and provide safe, you know, great homes for these young people who find themselves in, adverse situations. Like, we actually do need people to step up and help. And so, just the fact that these folks could take advantage of that need for help and do this kind of sick stuff. I would just hope that, in the future, man, the government municipality that gave these people rights to oversee the lives of these young people, they do better checks in the future. But I will say, man, these services that foster parents and people that adopt children, they're doing some just incredible work to provide safe homes for folks, and it's definitely needed. It's just a shame that this kind of thing can come out of that.
It's just so sick. It's so sick, but it is proof that while we saw, the recent story, a police officer stepping up, an anti-Karen, the woman who was serving the unhoused, and then the reminder from one of our great TYT members that there are good people in this world. There's this stark contrast too, that you would actually look at a little child and see that they are put on this earth for you to use, for you to harm, for you to treat worse than you would an animal. And I don't even like that analogy. Shouldn't we treat, as a kid, I don't like insects, crickets, and stuff. I didn't want to kill them though. And maybe it's just me, okay? I have a big mouth, sure. But I have a heart, and I just have such a tough time with this. I know you're not my spiritual advisor, Woes, but I have a tough time believing that there are actual people like this without there being some kind of a chemical imbalance, not just indoctrination.
Yeah, I think part of it too is, the mental health capacities of this country, the situation that's going on with drugs, and can people get help? And we don't know. This is speculative. I don't know if these people were drug addicts, but it's just hard for me to see somebody with their sober mind, man, with any level of humanity within them, doing something this ridiculous. But I would say that I'm heartened by the vigilance of the people who reported these injustices and crimes. Shouts to those people for having the foresight and the human empathy to go out and say, you know what, this looks like some effed up stuff going on. We gotta make this right.
You are right. You're right. And even though you're not my spiritual advisor, you just uplifted me. You did. Because there's that side of you, you temper it, and you did show me, even in this desperate circumstance, the silver lining, something positive. These kids will be freed, and whoever helps rear them next, please, you better do right by them. We'll follow this story.